A man has been arrested on suspicion of the murder of Kerry farmer Michael Gaine. The man, who's aged in his 50s, was arrested yesterday afternoon, and that arrest came following the discovery of human remains in slurry spread across Mr Gaine's farm just outside Kenmare. You might bring us back to the very beginning of this investigation, which was, at the outset, a missing persons investigation.
Yeah, it was, Pat, and there was hundreds of volunteers out that original weekend, the 20th, 21st, 22nd of March, when Mike first went missing, helping the Gardaí to search his land. The investigation then developed on mainly to the professional organisations like the Kerry Mountain Rescue and the Garda Sub-Aqua Unit and others in relation to trying to find out and trying to ascertain what had happened, if this was an accident. It was being treated as a missing persons case, but despite all of that effort, despite all the resources expended over the following weeks, nothing itself was discovered in any great quantity or of any great significance to update or bring the investigation into a more serious level. And that followed on then until April, when the Gardaí upgraded the investigation to one of homicide, which then took us to this weekend and Friday evening in particular.
Now, the extraordinary thing is that they had done a comprehensive search of the farmyard and the farm premises, had they not, in the course of the missing persons investigation.
Yeah, they did. I was there myself in the initial days, for several days, when there were teams of Gardaí and there was local contractors assisting in their work in emptying slurry tanks and carrying out searches, painstaking searches of the area. And as I said, it developed on from there, where the army were brought in, drone technology was used, they electronically mapped out the 1,000-acre farm using drones and sniffer dogs, you name it. It was thrown at this investigation in the early stages, Pat. But the breakthrough didn't come until Friday evening, when Gardaí announced that a member of the public had notified them of finding something suspect on the farmland. Now, I got there myself on Friday and then into Saturday morning early. When we arrived, it looked as though two of the fields next to Mike Gaine's farm, a slurry had been spread, and there were 6 or 7 yellow evidence markers spread out across the two fields. Later on that day, Gardaí, walking in a line, did a line search of both those two fields. And from then, the pathologist got involved and further examinations yesterday as well. So there was a huge amount of activity, huge amount of vehicles, huge numbers of Gardaí and Technical Bureau people who were, again, concentrating their search in and around the farmyard of Mike Gaine.
Now, an arrest was made, and all we know is the individual is in his 50s and he knew Mike Gaine.
Yesterday evening, around about 4 minutes past 5, the Gardaí released a statement saying that a man in his 50s had been arrested in Killarney, detained under suspicion of murder under Section 4 of the Criminal Justice Act 1984, and can be questioned for 24 hours. Now, shortly after that announcement was made, and the Gardaí, again, as part of their statement, made an appeal for privacy for the Gaine family and also for continuing help from the public if anyone knows anything to contact them. Shortly after that, a local undertaker, Finnegan's Funeral Home, a hearse came onto the land at Carrigeast, just outside Kenmare, where Mike Gaine's farm is, proceeded down with a coffin in the back to the farm shed. The parish priest, Father George Hayes, followed on in the car afterwards. A short ceremony, short few prayers were said inside in the farm shed, and a number of Mike Gaine's friends who were assisting, driving machinery and other things under the direction of investigators yesterday, carried the coffin from the farm shed and put it into the hearse. And at that stage then, Pat, members of Mike Gaine's immediate family had arrived on the scene, and quite a number of his friends as well, and they lined the road as the hearse made its way up from the farm onto the main N71 road and made its way on its journey to Tralee, through Killarney, and onto University Hospital Kerry. It was a very, very sad scene because the whole area has been really devastated by his disappearance. It's been incredibly difficult over the last 8 weeks with no sign or no explanation for what could have happened, and everybody was hoping for a breakthrough. But then when it happened, and the family obviously hoping for a breakthrough as well, it still was devastating when the confirmation was there that he had met his end and that he was dead, and that there's an investigation ongoing now. It's been a moment. It was a very tough moment for everyone involved.
And the state pathologist will have a very difficult job, I presume, in examining the remains or what is left of the remains to determine any potential cause of death.
Yeah, that's one of the many questions that arise out of the discovery on Friday and into Saturday as well. And what I can say about yesterday in particular was there was a large search taking place in an area of ground about 10 to 15 metres away from the farm shed. There was 12 to 15 guards in a line with shovels and spades and rakes and pikes, and they were sifting through earth and material. Yesterday. There was excavators involved as well yesterday. The excavators were kind of moving rock and rubble at parts of the farmyard, but they were also in the shed, lifting out slabs of the statted unit for closer inspection outside. But those Gardaí who were sifting, at times they stopped, something would be photographed, and there was an evidence tent that was set up close by as well for any suspected pieces of evidence to be found. So you can't just assume that everything was found in the shed. There may have been other things found, but it will be difficult. 8 weeks has gone by, and there is DNA sampling. At the moment, we don't have official confirmation that the partially human remains found were those of Mike Gaine, but the Gardaí, of course, would be working off that logical assumption, I suppose. So we have to wait and see what they come back with and how quickly or otherwise the DNA testing comes back. But it will be a task. It will be a difficult job, and it will be Gardaí sources are indicating that this is, sometimes when something is found, it can move on very quickly. That this is a complex investigation, and it may take some time before we have another development here. Mm-hmm. What we do know about the arrest yesterday, Pat, is that it was, I suppose they have 24 hours, so that if it was around about that time when the statement came out, maybe 5 o'clock, we will know in the next number of hours whether the DPP makes a direction for charges or if the man will be released.
Yeah, and of course they have to subtract any resting times, any resting periods during that 24-hour window. So
he has the choice to keep going or to take rests.
Yeah. All right. My heart goes out to the family of Mike Gaine, because what a gruesome discovery was made on the land, and all the questions that remain unresolved for that family. Really a terrible tragedy.